Okay, outlining lettering. I had a question on my Facebook page about how to outline lettering and what options you have in the creator level. All the things I'm doing now in the creator level are equally doable in the Designer Plus level, version 8 and version 7 as well. Okay, so I've put some lettering here. It is the Night Owl font, and I increase the size to the largest it allows. So if I select, at the moment I'm in color blocks, so it's showing all the objects that are the same color in one block. If I go to individual objects here, it will break them up into their individual objects. But as you can see, the whole word hello is treated as one object because it's lettering. Now, if you watched my lettering videos, you'll understand what I mean by that. The A I made separately and as a separate lettering object. I didn't do a return or anything like that to get the A down here. So two different objects. So we can select this word hello, and if I right click on it and go to the object properties in the pop-up menu there, it will open up at the lettering object properties. If it hasn't, click on the lettering tab up here on the top so that you can see the properties for the lettering. And as you can see, I've got the Night Owl font, and its recommended sizes are between 10 and 18 millimeters. So the default in the height is 14 millimeters. So you would have that originally when you first create it. You need, if you want to make it larger, you can do that here. So you can set the height to anywhere between 10 and 18 millimeters. The reason they have that restriction is because of the stitch types. Most lettering is done with a satin stitch, and if you get too big, the satin stitch lengths are too long and it doesn't stitch out nicely. Or if you go too small, the satin stitch is too narrow and you'll end up with thread breaks and jams and things. So always be mindful of the recommended size. Now, you won't find that in version 7 and 8 here on your dialogue. This is new to version 9. So you need to go into your reference manual under help here, and in the appendices and glossaries you'll get a list of recommended sizes for each of the fonts. Okay, so we are done with that. I just wanted to show you what I set up. So okay, now outlining lettering is quite easy. You just use the outlines and offsets tool in the edit toolbox. So select the lettering you want to outline and go to the edit toolbox, open that up by clicking on it, and then come down to the tulip icon, which is outlines and offsets, and click on that. A dialog will open, and it has two sorts of outlines: object outlines and offset outlines. I'm going to start with just object outlines, and so I've got a check mark in there, and I must deselect any check mark that's down here or I'll get both. So I only want an outline, so I've only got a check mark up here. In the type, you've got a drop down menu. Now in creator level, you've got all the outline stitches that come with the software except for blanket stitch. There's a reason they haven't included blanket stitch. They've made creator software very user friendly, and blanket stitch does not work very well on tiny objects, getting around corners and so forth, so they've not included that in the outlines. There is a way to get a blanket stitch outline, but there's a lot of work. I have some videos about that, older videos from older versions of the software. I'll hunt them out and put links below for anyone who really wants to go into blanket stitch for their outline. And I'll quickly show you what I mean when I have actually created an outline. So I'm going to start with the triple stitch outline because that's a little bit bolder than a single run, and it's entirely up to you which one you choose though. And so just set that. I've chosen red so that it stands out and you can see it easily. Under here we've got overlapping objects. You don't need to worry about those with lettering. You would with other embroidery designs. You would have to think about which one you want to set this at, because if you've got overlapping objects, the software will treat them differently depending on which you choose here. But with lettering, it's a little bit different. So any overlapping objects are still seen as one object. I'll just move that aside a little bit. For instance, in the H here, we've got a horizontal object and then two vertical objects overlapping that horizontal object to create the H. But the software will see that because it's lettering, we'll see it all as one shape. Okay? So as I said, don't worry about these boxes here. It doesn't matter which one you choose. When you're happy with those settings, just go OK, and the software will create the outline. And if I zoom in, you can see that better. And it really looks quite effective. And you could do that in a contrast thread. You could do it in the same color just to tidy up the edges and give them a finished look. It's entirely up to you. Now, I'm going to undo that and do it again with the satin stitch to show you that with lettering this size, really you want to stick to reasonably narrow type stitches. So either the single, triple, sculptured run, the back stitch doesn't look too bad, stem stitch might work okay. I'm not even sure about zigzag, but if we go to satin, I'll show you what I mean. That starts to get wide. Zigzag would be wide too, and I'm not sure that would look very nice either. Okay, so we'll undo that and we'll go to our selected again and go to our outlines and offsets, and this time we will choose satin. Now I think it's 3 millimeters the default width of the satin, but it's even 3 millimeters is too wide. You'll see what I mean. So you can see here it's not handling this part of the E very well. The outlines are overlapping here and here and here. So it's not very nice, and here they're overlapping. So you really need larger lettering to use a satin outline. If you chose a different font, you would be able to get probably a better result with the satin stitch, because some fonts you can actually go larger in. But the only other option is to actually change the fill stitch of the lettering to something that you can enlarge, like a step fill. I'll show you that in a little while. Okay, now you don't have to keep undoing and going back to your outlines and offsets tool if you decide you want to change the type of stitch in the outline. You can, in fact, go to the color blocks and select all that outline. If you didn't do it in a different color, you would have to actually select all the outline objects. And then you can come down here and choose. So if I wanted to go back, let's try the back stitch. Okay, so that's back stitch, and it will just change it to the back stitch. And that doesn't look too bad either. It's a little bit more interesting than just the triple run. Now there is another way of outlining words and letters, which is the offset. So I will undo now, or I'll just select that and delete that outline. And I will go back to individual objects and just select the word hello and go to my outlines and offsets. And this time I'm going to deselect the object outlines and go to the offset outlines. Now, here you can decide how far away from the lettering, how far away from the outside of the lettering you want the offset to be. I've chosen 4 millimeters in this case. Remember, I'm zoomed in, so remember this is only 18 millimeters tall, so you don't want to go another 10 millimeters out or you'll be too far away from the lettering. So I've chosen 4 millimeters. I've just put one offset count for the moment. You can have multiple offsets, so you can have rows of outlining offsets outside each other. And I'm going to leave it at satin and red. Again, because it's lettering, you don't need to worry about these two options here for the kinds of offsets. Down here we've got corners. Now because I had sharp corners before with the object outlines because I wanted it to turn sharply at the sharp corners. But because we're going to be a little bit further outside the lettering, I'm now going to choose the rounded corners just to get a smoother line going around. And I don't want to include any holes, so I'm going to leave that include holes deselected and go OK. And there we go. We've got a lovely outline accentuating the whole word. So you could even turn that outline into an applique and have a different coloured fabric under the word. This looks nice when you're making things like snap tabs and so forth, where you want to put somebody's name and then have a bold outline around it to finish it off, basically, give it a bit more dimension. So that's a really good, useful thing to be able to do. And you can do this, you don't just have to do this around lettering, you can do it around embroideries as well. Let's have a look at multiple offsets. So I will undo that and select the letter and go to outlines and offsets, and I'll put 3 in there. They're going to be 4 millimeters apart each one. So we'll see how that goes and can leave all the other settings the same and go OK. Now I've got 3 rows going around. 3 is probably a bit much for this size lettering. You can, now that you've got those 3 though, you could choose one of them and change the colour. So let's see, what have we got here? There's the first one. Let's leave that red. Let's choose the second one and make that the blue. There we go, and leave the outside one red. So there's that sort of option. You can change any of them to a different stitch type. So you could have the first one as, select the first one there. I'll just go out of true view so you can see which one I've selected. And I could then make that a zigzag, for instance. I want to turn the underlay off so that I didn't have that. And there is a bit of a travel run there. So I would have to think about changing my start and end points to see if I could get rid of that. So zigzag's probably not the best choice for a beginner. Let's try blanket stitch. Okay, the blanket stitches are pointing outwards, but we could actually invert that by right-clicking on the blanket stitch icon. Sorry, actually, I'll close that. I'll select the object and right-click on it. Go to the object properties, and you can invert the points of the blanket stitch by clicking on inverse and apply that, so that you might like that pointing that way instead. So you can play around with those a little bit. You can also change stitch spacing and blanket width, so we could make that blanket width, 1.5 is quite narrow actually. Probably don't want to go any narrower. That's the length of the teeth. Let's try changing the stitch spacing though to 3. So that'll give us more teeth closer together. And apply that. There we go. We could even go to 2. And apply that. So we've got lots of little teeth. In the points you will get longer stitches with blanket stitch. Just refer to those videos I'm going to put down below that help you adjust things with blanket stitch. Let's have a look at this letter A, and I'm going to drag it over here so I can make it bigger. And I'm going to actually go back to true view so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to change the fill stitch to a step fill, and that way I can make it a lot bigger. Let's go to about 6 millimeters high. So that's very big. So now, if I've selected that and go to my outlines and offsets, I can deselect the offset outlines and go to the object outlines. And now when I choose Satin and go OK, you'll see you get a very nice satin outline around there. So it works with bigger letters. You could even then turn these satin outlines into an applique and get rid of the fill stitch altogether. Or you could change the fill stitch again. Let's just select that A and see what else we can change it to a fancy fill. And you'll get some more texture in that letter then. So you can choose lots of fancy fills in the object properties. So if I right click on that and go to the object properties, and we want the fill stitch tab, and at the moment it's on rustic ice. You've got lots of different ones to choose from there. Let's have a look at this bird. I can't even tell. Oh, it's a flying bird. I'm not real fond of that in a small area. Let's have a look at leaf. That's not all that exciting. Let's have a look at flame. Flame might be interesting, so we'll apply that. Okay. So as you can see, you can get some more texture into your lettering, large lettering, with the different fill stitches, even in the creator level. Okay, I hope that's given you some answers to your questions and that you've got something fun to play with now and experiment with. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell notifications if you wish to make sure you don't miss any of my future videos. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.